As technology, both physical and virtual, reaches new heights and finds unforeseen paths into our lives, the individual has never before been so connected to the whole. What made the identity of this individual unique can now effortlessly be shared and homogenized as a characteristic of the collective. This phenomenon is known as globalization, and with it comes its sister process of appropriation, the act of copying, stealing, or taking something, often without the permission of the original owner. The world as we know it today is, and always has been, a vibrant patchwork of different cultures, which have developed, shifted, merged, and disappeared over the course of history. Yet, contemporarily, as globalization's effects have taken hold, the way in which culture behaves has dramatically transformed. Globalization, consciously or not, pushes for a world culture, in which aspects of all cultures are adapted, included, and incorporated. Whilst appearing to result in an overall more tolerant society, the process by which this occurs is that of cultural appropriation, which invariably heightens prejudice and highlights inequality more than it unites cultures on an equal footing. This is often not the case due to, as you might expect, the specific cultural aspects being appropriated, but rather who is doing the appropriating. The culture which carries out this process is called the dominant culture, as it attempts to amalgamate and superficially integrate other cultures into its own, when in actuality it is only erasing and devaluing the cultures which it appropriates. One key example of this phenomenon is the United States of America, wherein its transnationality results in, as James Forrest and Kevin Dunn write in Core Culture, Hegemony and Multiculturalism, an environment where ethnic groups change, are Americanized as a result of their encounter with the larger American society. They affirm that tension occurs when the visions of civic nation and ethnocultural nation fail to converge. The notion of a social justice nation is diminished, resulting in maintenance of dominant society privilege. It is this tension that we aim to explore in this documentary.
In World Ant Farm, Yukinori Yanagi originally intended to visualize the concept of globalization, which refers to processes by which the people of the world develop into a society, a global society. It communicates this through the narrow connected tunnels the ants gradually burrow, symbolizing the increasing number of networks of communication and trade we see in today's world. However, where this artwork fails is its ability to illustrate the world as a singular collective. The ants themselves were supposed to collect colored grains of sand from one flag and move them to another, eventually presenting a large mixture of colors for the audience. Instead, the ants burrow into the flags they are introduced to, slowly traveling from flag to flag in unpredictable trajectories. The ants' movement slowly disintegrates the imagery of the individual flags, reflecting the loss of a culture's individuality. This is in line with what Chandra Sengupta writes in Conceptualizing Globalization, issues and implications that globalization is a microcosm of an advanced form of world capitalism, eating up every vital of a nation's life. The artwork's failure illustrates the false image of globalization that some have become accustomed to, wherein cultures harmoniously collaborate. In reality, there can be no singular, congenial method of appropriation. Instead, all cultures deteriorate and lose identity as a result of this process. In this work, the dominant culture is formlessness. Big Mac, painted in 1993 by Alexander Kosolopov, displays the unstoppable power of a dominant culture, as the man commonly perceived as democracy's and thus America's greatest opponent, Adolf Hitler, is pictured seemingly disgruntled holding a McDonald's tray, having been comically served by a caricatured African-American man. Kosolopov affirms America's position as the most powerful and pervasive cultural force, and unknowingly draws parallels to the modern-day realities of culinary appropriation, as international McDonald's chains are famed for serving meals custom-tailored to the country that they find themselves in. As Louis Martinelli writes in Food Chemistry, the Big Mac is connected with globalization of food production. We found that Big Mac patties contain carbon produced locally. In this sense, Big Macs are truly localized and not globalized food. That is to say, McDonald's appropriate, consume, and diminish not only the culture, but also the resources themselves of the countries that they occupy. Aragon Star's Pueblo Jones is the perfect example of the inevitable and oppressive nature of a dominant culture. Star's poster clearly attempts to subvert all American culture, as he replaces the iconic character of Indiana Jones with a Native American. The critique here is evident. White colonial America has repeatedly and unconsentingly appropriated Indian American culture, and Pueblo Jones endeavors to flip this notion on its head, placing a man of color in the position of power. His smirk and unwavering gaze, a direct challenge to the reality of a dominant culture. However, in an unsurprising twist, this message falls short. The symbolism here is lost in the work's commercialization, as prints are available for $5 on the aptly named Native Realities website. Once again, in an attempt to critique and mesh different cultures, one has invariably taken a dominant role, the consumerist American paradigm.
Ultimately, the interplay between different cultures, as it currently stands, is a complex matrix of ever-shifting power, where appropriation, deliberately or not, is used as a tool of maintenance and cultural control, ironically working against the idealistic values of unity and equality that those who appropriate often seek to perpetuate.